Hey everyone, it's Veroosh. Welcome to my channel. I'm excited to be here with you guys today to talk about the Aries full moon. I popped on here just a moment ago and I messed up my mic, and in fixing it I screwed up my video, so I had to turn everything off and turning it back on. So hopefully you're coming back in now, but sorry for the confusion. I'm excited to talk about the Aries full moon, and we're going to do an all sign with it. It's a mixed bag of energy, but I'll tell you that despite of the fact that it has some really dark elements to it, it has overwhelmingly positive energy around it. So I'll tell you guys about that now. It's later in the day. I think I'm fine for time. If by whatever reason I have to, I'll make it a members only video, but I don't intend to. So this will be public for everyone. And I hope you've enjoyed the Aries full moon. The moon is now in Taurus, which is nice because moon is exalted at 3 degrees of Taurus. So we can talk about the energies now in a different frequency. But yeah, so the full moon in Aries happened today, and it was conflicted with a lot of intense energy. And so we're going to talk about the intense energy, but we want to also highlight the kind of like best energy of it. I already talked about some of this, actually both elements, in previous videos. So if you go back to my Grand Water Trine video, I talk about like the positive energies now. And for members, I did that Chiron, what was it, like the arc video, and I explained what's going on with Chiron there. But if you're not a member, we'll cover some of that today, enough for you to understand what's going on. So this full moon is at perigee, which means that it's closest position to the Earth. There are actually 3 full moons in 2024 that are at perigee, or they're called supermoons. And objectively to the eye, there's no difference between the 3. They're all big. And so the September 18th Pisces eclipse was a supermoon, and the October 17th one, today's, is a supermoon. And in fact, the September 18th eclipse and today's full moon, the moon is only 100 kilometers difference between the two. So we won't be able to tell a difference as to its size. And then November 15th, we have a Taurus full moon, and that's going to be a supermoon as well. So if you miss this supermoon for whatever reason, there's more to come. And so the supermoon typically represents a time when we're more tapped in, tuned in. It's located at the moon's perigee, or white moon Selena, right? So this is where we are more in touch with ourselves, our intuition. And since the moon had just passed this Pisces position a couple days ago, I was telling you about that, we have been majorly psychically tapped in to some energy. So go slow, you're downloading a lot, you're processing a lot of information. Give yourself time to digest it and think about it so that you come out with some great insight. The full moon itself is a mixed bag of energy. There's definitely some chaotic elements that we'll describe today, but there's also a lot of supportive elements. And I think that the supportive elements outweigh the chaos. So what I would say in short about this full moon is that chaotic events may happen to people. So you may have like an outburst with someone, you may get into a fight, but there's an overwhelmingly positive energy throughout the late October. And so I would even say into November a little bit. But there is this really nice energy that I'll also mention today, and I talked about in the Grand Water Trine video, that I think outweighs and puts, it's almost like a good faith kind of time. So bad things may happen, but overwhelmingly positive things will come in. So let's talk about the bad. I've kind of make it a personal priority to switch how I talk about these things. I'm not a love and light type person, but I don't feel like it's helpful to make videos pointing out to you the dark astrology of it all and all of that. However, I mean, I do want to kind of stay true to my practice, and my practice is considering everything, like a holistic practice. So those more darker or difficult transits we do have to consider. I do have more explicit posts about this on other social media. If it's political, it's going to be on x.com. If it's like on Instagram, I tend to go light as well. But on Threads, I'll throw in some discussion. So let's talk about Aries, because Aries is conjunct the moon exactly. And this is a very problematic position for the eclipse. The eclipse for the full moon. There was an eclipse here in April, right? And it was at like 19 degrees of Aries. So it was really close to Aries, but this full moon is actually right on Aries. And so on Threads, I calculated all of the dates for the last 30 years in which we had full moons and new moons alongside Aries, so considering Aries. And I did some research into that, and I don't want to get into the details because it's just hard to talk about and hard to consider. But this transit of Aries does lead to conflict, violence, and possibly, you know, like negative events happening in the world. So Aries is the sister of Mars in some mythologies. She is the goddess of war. She's associated with vengeance. So in a situation in which she was rejected, she was very vengeful. And I would really encourage people who are interpreting this transit, because a lot of new astrologers like to interpret feminine archetypes through these feminist lenses. So I could see someone out there saying, you know, retribution, fight for women's rights and stuff like that. But you want to really consider her myth in context. So this means that, you know, this is how the Greeks and the Romans thought of Eris, more so than how she appears to us. And so Eris was very much, there's no room for discussion on Eris. She was very much associated with intense vengeance and intense, and not in a good light, not in the form of emancipation. So we have this transit of Eris, and when you track her conjunctions and aspects to her, there is a trail of blood. Sorry to be dramatic. That's all I'm going to say about it. So this full moon is conjunct that. So far, I haven't checked the news for a couple hours, but I know there was a big offensive, and there was someone who lost their life in politics in the Middle East. But beyond that, I'm not aware of any events that happened today. So hopefully, hopefully nothing does. And so Eris was conjunct the full moon, and so is Chiron. And Chiron is the wounded healer. And in Aries, we know that it's talking about our self-esteem and self-worth and who we are in the world, and how our environment shapes who we are, I think, is a big theme. And so it's also conjunct the moon. So there's been a lot of themes coming up for people about identity issues, about how they get treated, how they treat each other. I wasn't going to really tell you a story, but I'll tell you a story, and I'll make it really generic so as not to embarrass anyone, okay? So I grew up in a little town, and it wasn't comfortable, and it wasn't nice. And I recently ran into a friend of mine who I was friends with through elementary and into high school, and really nice woman. And so we had a 2-minute chat. I was going somewhere, and it was very strange because I don't think about my experiences growing up. I mean, when you're grown, you kind of forget them. But basically, we were saying something, and then suddenly she thought that I had implied something about her, like how she looks. And I was thinking about how like strange it was to see her and all of these things, like reminiscing. And so I was in my own head to begin with, as I usually am, but it wasn't personal. And her response was like really kind of like abrupt and really intense. She wasn't rude, but she asserted like, you know, whatever she felt she needed to. I'm trying to be. And it reminded me of how nasty these girls were, not her particularly, but just the environment, and how they constantly were at each other to bring each other down. And that's not the type of person I am, but I grew up in an environment like that. And because I was an immigrant, I got even more of it because I stuck out. And so just that feeling hit me when I saw her, about how paranoid she was that I was going to say something or do something harsh, and how in reality that's the environment of the girls that I grew up with, how they would be underhanded and try to hurt each other, trying to tear each other down in these covert ways. Anyway, so Chiron and Aries, it reminds me of Chiron and Aries. This just happened. So it reminds me of Chiron and Aries because I would not involve myself in situations like that. But when I was younger, I had no means to get away from it. And so it's really unfortunate that a group of women treat each other that way. And when seeing her reminded me of how toxic it is between them, so much so that they're so jumpy between each other that they think somebody's gonna say something, do something to them, you know. Anyway, so Chiron and Aries can look like that, where, you know, people are in an environment, and it may not be actually like gender or race or whatever else. It can just be the way people treat each other and like the culture there. So anyway, so that was my kind of thought for Chiron and Aries, and it happened alongside this full moon. And for me personally, I reflected on the fact that when I was younger, I was very much, I didn't know how to get away from it because I was dependent on them socially and in other ways. And now how I would never even come close to interacting with someone on that level or in that capacity. So it was kind of a reflection of how far I've come away from being involved. And it's really sad because I do feel like I lost out on a lot because of how they behaved. And it was never my way of thinking or doing things. And so, yeah, it was, and I'm not saying this friend of mine did it. I'm saying that it was so like between them anyway, and so petty and so just unfortunate that they held each other back in this way, and it happened all the time. So it was just sad to see her reaction, I would say. So that's Chiron and Aries. Sad to see how somebody is so affected by it that they think that every woman that they talk with is going to say something nasty to them. So, and I know it's not her being paranoid or something inappropriate because I know how these women are. And so yeah, there's just a lot of bullies around. I feel bad for her. Anyway, so Chiron and Aries can look like that between girls, like intense harassment, intense nitpicking each other. But that's the energy of the moon. I think the point of my story was that I had this epiphany about what I had witnessed, what I had been a part of, and maybe I'm not in that space anymore, but at a time that I had to navigate it, and it formed who I am as a person as well. So Chiron and Aries with the moon gives you insight about who you are, the environment you're in, how that culture, how that environment forms who you are and puts you in a category or whatever. And so maybe you've had your own realizations about what Chiron and Aries is all about. So Chiron and Discordia or Eris are with the full moon. This can really lead to like excessive chaos and kind of like aggression, or she wasn't aggressive with me. I just really want to stress that. But yeah, so in general, all I want to say is like there is an element here that can look dark, but there's a lot of supportive energy that's helpful. And the position of the moon with Aries and Chiron is actually even more intensified by the fact that there's a grand cross. So we have Pluto in the last degree of Capricorn going direct, Mars in Cancer direct, and then the Sun in Libra. And so this grand cross is a tension energy. And because of the fact that Pluto and Mars are in these degrees squaring Aries, it looks extremely volatile. Let's just use that word, but it doesn't look good. On Threads, I actually did a survey of all the dates, like I said, when this happened. So if you want to look at the dates, go on my Threads profile. Maybe one of the dates, you'll know what happened during those dates. Usually things happen when there is a new moon or full moon conjunct Aries, and especially this one, because it has that square, can be even more intense. And so that's a part of the energy of the full moon. Let's see. And so there's like a story arc with regard to Chiron. A couple days ago, I filmed a video, and I'll put it in the description when I'm done. It's only for members, but it's for the lower tier members, so it's only like $2 or something if you want to watch it. It's about Chiron and about the tense energy around it. It's like an hour-long deep dive, so go check it out. But essentially, this full moon is kind of one of those context situations where there is a lot of connected to Chiron here. And so Chiron is having some significant interaction with Mars that began on October 13th. So you want to write that down. That was a square between Chiron and Mars on the 13th of October. And in fact, there will be actually a 3-part cycle between Chiron and Mars that will continue until March. And so what that means is that tension that arose around the 13th of October is going to play itself out until about March 26th. So there's more to it than that. I'll tell you in a moment. But if something had begun for you of a tense energy where you felt conflict, or where you felt like in the situation I described, bound by the opinions of others, and those opinions being weaponized against each other, like a hostile environment, the square between Chiron and Mars may come up as an issue for you. And on February 4th, when Mars is retrograde, you will experience another square, probably to do with the same energy. And then on March 26th, you'll get your final square as Mars pushes ahead of the square to Chiron. So we're in the beginning stages of like a story arc with Mars and Chiron. Mars and Chiron, let's just spell it out in case you're not familiar, probably has to do with like limitation on doing certain things. So even though I'm free of that now, as a child, I do feel like I was held back from doing a lot by the culture in this group of females, right? Like things that I would have wanted to do, I didn't do because I was under so much pressure from their behavior. And so, so something, Mars in Cancer squaring Chiron in Aries has something to do with working through blockages that prevent you from being you, Chiron in Aries, and seeking what you actually want, which is Mars in Cancer. So be patient with the energy. It's just started. On top of that, Mars is actually forming a very positive angle. So in the context of this push-pull energy, active in interaction with the Chiron working on identity issues, there's a sextile between Uranus and Mars. And that also has begun, let me see. That also has connected, and I would assume that's also a 3-part conjunction, although I didn't write that down. I'll post it somewhere. But there's a sextile that formed between Uranus and Mars. And so that is happening at the same time as the full moon. I explained that in the grand water trine video, actually, because it's a part of that larger mystic rectangle, and I'll put that in the description. That's available for everybody to watch. Anyway, what's interesting about that sextile, so Mars and Uranus together in these positions, what we're dealing with is thinking outside of the box and reaching out for something we want and doing it differently in order to get it. So in a system that's holding you back, Chiron and Aries, you want to see something different, but you can't actually achieve what it is you want because of labeling or whatever kind of behavior or activity. And then you have this sextile with Uranus, which is working in synchronicity with this between Mars. So the way you do things, Mars is going to fundamentally change under this sextile. To give you more idea of what we're talking about, there's an interesting pattern that we found for this connection, and that is a Cazimi pattern that goes back to 2009. On May 18th, 2009, the Sun and Mercury formed a Cazimi exactly in the same position as Uranus is now. So a Cazimi is when the Sun and Mercury join together. And so on May 18th, 2009, the Sun and Mercury joined a Cazimi here. However, on July 14th, which is 2 months after that, the Sun and Mercury formed a second Cazimi in the exact position where Mars is now. So it's kind of echoing that Uranus and Mars position. And so in that same year, you want to look back, if you can, to May through July, mid-May through mid-July, to see if there's something that is connected to issues of identity, but sort of like, what did you do then that worked your way around it? What happened at that time that set you free? What did you do different in 2009 that sort of set you on a new path? This sextile might have some connection to this. To add to this, we get another Cazimi, and it will be in Cancer on July 13th, 2026, so in 2 years, and that is going to be happening where Mars is now. So this is a longer story arc. We're just in the beginning. It's developing probably now until early 2025, and then in 2026, we'll see the outcome. So I really need to encourage you to face challenges, whatever you feel held back by, whatever you feel under the pressure of, you can work your way through it. So that's the square. It's not so bad, right? And there's other elements that I'm not mentioning here, like the grand water trine. Venus has just moved into Sag, but there was a grand water trine between Neptune, Venus, and Mars. Soon Mercury will form that trine. There's other energies here. There's a grand earth trine between Uranus, Vesta, and Pluto. So there's supportive energy amid that. So the square is on Chiron and Mars, affecting something about you is affecting what you can achieve at this time. You're hitting a wall because of how you've been positioned in life. And this is your time essentially to find a workaround to that. So find a different way of doing it, which is that Uranus sextile. It's really nice. So yes, tension is there, but there's also a good workaround. Okay, so grand water trine. I just mentioned this. We just finished it because Venus has moved into Sag, but now Mercury's moving up in Scorpio to give us our second one. And in between which time the mystic rectangle between Uranus, Mars, and Venus and Pluto has formed. So it's kind of tiding us over. And so this grand water trine is bringing a lot of compassion and understanding to situations. So it's likely that there is a lot of emotional support. And so what I mentioned before is that both Venus and Mars throughout October have a lot of positive aspects on them. So Venus and Mars are inner planets. They affect the self, and they are positively aspecting not only each other, but they're also positively aspecting the big planets. So the water planets, the Neptune, the water planets, and other transits as well, Pluto. And so that is what that is doing, is that it's bringing us into alignment, us as individuals, in alignment with the world at large. And that makes us dealing with issues such as Chiron or Aries much more fluid. So things will happen, but it's likely that good things will countervene, and you have the strength, you have the wherewithal to meet those issues. Some of the transits, I'll just name them now. So Mars and Uranus will form that sextile on the 25th of October. So it's applying now, but you go, girl. And then we have today, Venus and Pluto had their sextile, and also Venus trined Neptune for the last few days. So it's been very nice energies. On October 8th, Venus and Mars formed a trine, and even though she's out of sign, it's still quite favorable. And then on October 28th, Mercury will move up into this degree and have a positive aspect to Mars. So now we're switching into Mercury. And with Mercury, that's going to be a lot of now a lot of feelings have been going on, a lot of interpersonal interaction. And then when Mercury moves into those degrees of Scorpio, we're going to have things happening. So things will be written down. Things will be on paper. Things will be happening. Mercury is the magician. So I'm excited for when Mercury, it's kind of like the intention is set right now in early October. And as Mercury finishes up the last degrees of Scorpio, things start to manifest into reality. And then also, as Mercury forms this last degrees, Neptune will form a trine to Mars, and that's when we get the big grand water trine between Mercury, Neptune, and Mars opposite Pluto in the anaretic degree. So it's a big kite, and it's going to be quite the effect of everything that's happening. So trust the process is what I would say about this. To add to this, I mentioned the big grand Earth trine. Pluto and Uranus are in a trine, and they're trining Vesta, the Vestal Virgin, the home heath, natural abilities. This is an important transit as well in Virgo. So we have a supportive energy in water. We have a supportive energy in earth. It's very good. It's very good. Okay. One other observation about the full moon directly. Mars is in Cancer, that's ruled by the moon, and the moon was in Aries, that was ruled by Mars. That's called a mutual reception. So even though it's a square on the moon itself, they're in each other's sign. So they sort of work well together in that capacity. They strengthen each other, or they give each other the means through which work through that energy, I would say. So Mars is a little bit softer. The moon is a little bit more assertive in Aries. So I give that good energy and support. So the square is not necessarily like the most intense square. However, the opposition to Pluto, T square, Grand Cross, looks wild. I'm not sure what's happened in the world. I honestly don't want to look. One thing I'll say, because there was a big, I don't want to use the word, but there was a big unaliving of an important politician, okay? And one thing I noticed, I went on X, and it kind of is graphic on X sometimes, like pictures are shown that I don't really want to see. One thing I noticed, though, was this was early in the morning, I noticed like an onslaught of images of like so basically like they bombed a building and then they took images of the body. And so it was way more than normal in terms of how many images were being shown to me by that feed of that incident. And it was graphic. And so I felt that was the expression of the Grand Cross, that like I got pummeled with images. I know it's kind of like the thing on X that people do show like harsh images or dark images sometimes, but just I noticed the intensity was magnified tenfold. So, you know, showing everything. And what I do is I like cover the screen as I realize what's going on. So I'm always kind of with one hand ready to cover it because I really don't want to see that part. But yeah, I just did notice that this was, and that was very much Aries. Aries is the goddess of war, right? So showing corpses and stuff like that, that's Aries energy as well. Don't want to see that again, but yeah, it was really intense. A supportive energy onto the moon is Jupiter, right? Jupiter's in Gemini sextile this moon. So if conflict arises, it's likely that Jupiter is going to bring light and good outcomes for you in the situation that you're dealing with. So there's a walk around energy between Uranus and Mars, and Jupiter is kind of like good luck. So if you're in a situation, it's likely that Jupiter is going to throw some luck your way, like things will sort of be harmonious or like work in your favor. So if you are worried about something bad happening, I think Jupiter in a sextile is likely to give you like a way through or a way out to whatever it is that you're dealing with. And so Jupiter and Chiron are also on a 3-point journey. They create a sextile 3 times because of Jupiter's retrograde cycle. And so the first sextile formed on the 12th of October, so just a few days ago. Remember, the square to Mars happened on the 13th, so these are days apart. So that first sextile between Jupiter and Chiron happened on the 12th. The second one will be November 2nd, and then the third one will be May 18th. So whatever's going on in terms of a healing journey, an opportunity to heal who you are, finding another solution to circumstances that you've been left with, look through this 3-point cycle to May 18th, and it's likely that something's coming your way that's of a benefit or help to whatever it is that's coming up as identity issues. So be patient. And I think it's really interesting to observe how Mars is forming a square to Chiron while Jupiter is forming that sextile. So you're really in the center of facing some challenges here. So yeah, watch my 2 other videos. This just adds another dimension or timeline. Oh, okay. No, I don't. I was going to say, why did I say that? Oh, so in terms of our timeline, because Mars's 3-point aspect to Chiron ends in March, end of March. If you remember my Pisces full moon eclipse reading, I told you guys that a lot of the events that are tied to the full moon eclipse that happen on September 18th, right, are tied up to the end of retrograde cycles in March, April, and I think beginning of May. So there's like a story arc that began in September that's going to finalize. And here is more proof with Jupiter and Mars of like everything's pointing to March and April. There's an eclipse there as well. In Pisces, a new moon eclipse. So look out for that. So we're really in the middle of a story and it's different layers. And I think one of the main themes of that is Chiron. And since this full moon is conjunct Chiron, it's likely that a big theme has to do with Chiron issues such as identity and who you are. The other thing, and this is the last thing, so we got through it. How long was that? 33 minutes. Woohoo! Champion speed. I hope I wasn't if I was too fast with anything, then please leave me a comment. I love, if something doesn't make sense, just let me know in the comments, and don't leave it in the chat because I'll miss it, but leave me a comment and let me know and we can answer it. If you have a question, it's never a stupid question. Most likely somebody else has a question about the same issue. Okay. So the last energy that's kind of co-present to all this is a trine to Neptune from Venus and a sextile from Venus to Pluto. And this is called a minor grand trine sextile. It's a part of a larger kite formation, but specifically the Venus aspect to Pluto and Neptune has been really strong over the last few days. So what I'll say about that aspect, and I think we talked a little bit about it in the last video, the grand water trine, what it actually creates is twofold. In one essence, Venus and Neptune represent our feelings, emotions, our passions, and they get us in touch with what we truly want in relationships and everything else, creativity, all those things. And Pluto is in the midpoint of that, in the 29th degree of Capricorn, right? And so that is a long story arc that dates back to 2008. Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. And so you have experienced lessons about the world at large, because Pluto is an outer planet. So you've experienced lessons about the world at large, power, and how things actually happen. And now you are coming into catharsis or reflection upon your lived experiences, and you're ready to take certain steps. So if in the last 14 years, there's something about your life that feels as though you have to do this, or this is the theme you need to change, it's something involving things you love or something dear to your heart, you're prone to act on that in this way. So under this energy is really encouraging you to like seize the day, carpe diem, and go after what you want. And I think in response to Chiron, right, in Aries, it's a perfect energy, perfect harmonious energy, encouraging you to just go after what you want. The downside of this is, whether it's for you or someone you're dealing with, Neptune is the planet of illusion or delusion. So if you have deluded thoughts, or someone has deluded thoughts about the nature of reality, think psychic psychosis or just out of touch, right? And they believe things that are really not good for them, they may be prone to try to make it happen despite the fact that it's not in alignment with reality. So illusions of grandeur, you know, like stuff like that. Under this energy, be careful that you're not making assumptions about things. So if you are wanting to make a bold move, which is what I'm talking about, then make sure that you're doing it clear-headedly. Okay? So that's what I have for today. 37 minutes, not bad. Oh gosh. Hold on. Is anybody watching? Oh, this is private. Oh my God. Let's see. I'm gonna switch this. You guys missed the whole show. Did I just, I thought, I didn't check my, let's see. Let's try this. Now you guys are going to see me. Hey everyone. So if you're joining now, we're going to do the all sign reading. I just explained everything for everyone. I just explained everything for everyone in terms of the astrology. And now I'm going to do the all sign, but do watch the astrology in the beginning. I just checked after doing the astrology and nobody was chatting. Nothing was up. And so that was funny. I had a big chat with myself. Okay, that's okay. We can do that. Okay. So I'm back. Okay, so we're going to do the all sign now. And yeah, watch the beginning, watch the astrology. And yeah, so let me do the all sign. I guess you guys have been waiting. So yeah, it just went private for some reason. I don't understand why, but that's okay. There's video there. I recorded it all, so you guys will see it once it's done filming. So let's do the all sign and go watch the astrology that I faithfully completed already. Okay, so let's do an all sign for every sign. That's random because I popped online and there was an error, and so I reset the stream, and I don't understand why the second one went private, but it did. So welcome back. Hi everyone. That was really funny. Okay, so let's see. Is it Mercury retrograde already? I'm just switching, making it brighter for you guys because I think the sun, it's not setting, but it's cloudy now. Sunny before. Okay. So now we're on to all sign. Okay. So first message for the full moon is for Gemini. And by the way, the astrology was really good. So if you missed it, you should check it out because it's quite exciting. Okay, so hi Gemini, let's take a look at your energy for the full moon and see what kind of messages come out. So the full moon for you happened in your 11th house of friends, social relationships. I think it probably dealt with some issues of how you find yourself positioned amid other people, groups of people, and people you interact with. I do feel as though there may be tension for you with regard to money and others at this time. So you may be holding back on others or quite reserved or worried to take the next step with a group of friends because of financial experiences in the past. So go with your own truth, but do see your way through it. I think that some of you may have to say no to someone financially in order to achieve what you want, but I think that you should really trust yourself, which is Jupiter in the first house. Really trust yourself and your lived experiences, what you've learned from past experiences to do with money, to do with others. And I think that your primary energy here is to trust in your own observations and what you feel is best, even if the world around you is pressuring you in a different direction. Part of the message here is that cathartic lesson of Pluto and Capricorn, which is learn to draw boundaries, financial boundaries with others, so it's like that. Put your foot down on a situation that makes a lot of sense to you or is very important. Trust yourself. Jupiter is trining the sun, and go after the desires you want, even if other people are not necessarily enthusiastic about them. So I have this deck, which is very much a Aries type deck. And so we have the Six of Wands. I love this deck. It's so beautiful. We have the Six of Wands. We have the Nine of Cups. Some kind of success has come up for Aries or is coming up for you. You will enjoy success and achievement of, I feel as though you're going to be in charge of a decision of some kind, right? So I feel like you're making a decision, you have found success in a matter, and now you have the responsibility of managing it. And so I think that there's a lot of like intuition. Intuition was really activated when the moon was in Pisces a few days ago. Understanding about who is who, what do they want, and what the real truth of a situation is. So you have had that insight maybe on the 15th. On the 15th. It must have been like 2 days ago. So, or maybe 14th. So you, how do I say this? I see you as having successfully achieved something and now being in a position to make a decision. And I think that you're somewhat uncomfortable in having to be like the person who makes the decision. But I think you do have like an overarching belief or a vision of like what's fair in the situation. So go with that. Okay. So let's see the next sign. I missed you guys. I was like here by myself for half an hour explaining the astrology to you. You guys can watch it again. Scorpio's next, sun, moon, and rising. Let's take a look. Scorpio. I didn't even notice until I finished. Scorpio. Hey, Scorpio. So let's take a look at your energy. Okay. So the full moon happened at the end of your 6th house. It really feels as though you're getting like big. I told you guys a story at the beginning of the astrology session today, and it was about like my experiences when I was young. And it was part of my major epiphany about that was like the nature of social aspects and how they frame who we are and how they limit us. And so when I see the full moon here at the end of your 6th house, I think you're getting some powerful realizations about the nature of social systems and like what are limiting factors and what things you deserve more at. So this full moon may have really hit close to home and helping you to realize how you've lost time, have you lost opportunities, have you lost certain things by being complacent to a system. Everybody's going to have different kind of perspectives in that. So yeah, realizations about people, situations, like seeing what they're about. Not all of it is pretty, and some of it is going to like really hit home with Pluto on the IC and Mars in the upper part of the sky. Mars is going to go retrograde over your MC, so that is going to be something that gets worked through. If you go back to the astrology section, I gave you 3 dates to kind of give you an idea as to how long that takes. But at the end of this, I think it's March 26th, you're going to be kind of full circle about your experiences. So what I think this full moon was about was reflecting upon, for you, reflecting upon how certain things in your environment may not have been as good to you as you would have thrived in, you know, so basically identifying a problem. So let's see your cards. We have the Knight of Wands, Sag, Leo, Aries. Something about this has this kind of spectacle view, 10 of Pentacles. So you have this Knight of Wands, which is like watching by, going by and watching something. 10 of Pentacles is great success and, great success. And then you have the 10 of Cups. So you're moving towards much more abundant things. It's like a confirmation. The story that I told you guys in the astrology section, it was very much a confirmation for me because I was confused when I was younger because that was the environment I was in, but I was never like that. So when I got away from it, I was like, I don't want to ever go back to it, right? Like I never want to be in that dynamic. It was just a big confirmation of like how unfortunate that is. So you're moving towards good things. 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Cups, fulfillment, quickly getting away from something that you don't like very much. You identify a problem, you identify an issue and you're like, I'm not going to play with this anymore. Okay, so let's see the next message. I am going to go fast with this because we do have that grand water trine where we did like a big workshop of this energy. So go watch that for more information. I'll put both videos in the description when I'm done. So we have Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Hey, Capricorn. Okay, so Capricorn, your full moon happened in your 4th house of home and family. From our last chat, I remember that being a lot to do with like boundaries with people, especially in your home. I feel like there may be people who are overbearing, putting a lot of pressure on you. I do feel like your sense of identity is really like your beacon, your lighthouse at this time in the 10th house. So you identify yourself with something external that is such a positive inspiration for you that you gain distance from complicated situations involving your family. In other words, your outside world is really like calling out to you, and despite whatever happens between you and your family, you keep seeking that inspiration from the outside world. I do feel like some of you may have experienced pushback from people who are close to you. So if somebody had, how do I say this, lashed out at you or challenged you as you are embarking on kind of claiming your personal territory or your selfhood. Just try not to be too, how do I say this? Don't fight back, because in this situation with Mars squaring this position, that person could be irrational and they could bring that back home to you, you know? So I would say stay away from irrational people or people who are in some way challenging you in what you've found for yourself. You feel good about what you found. If it makes them feel uncomfortable, then that's too bad for them and good for you. So you're right in your feelings. I do think that some caution towards people who are close to you at this time will give you strength and support. It will benefit your circumstances. Let's see some cards to do with that. So we have the Devil, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Capricorn energy. So that's that Pluto in the first house. I feel like there's this energy of like defining who you are, King of Pentacles. It's like, this is who I am. It's almost like going through a personal change and then trying that out in the world. It's like that new self is vulnerable, but it's sacred. And then you have the Page of Pentacles. From this new place that you find yourself in, the new self, you are going to embark on a new journey. So your inspiration isn't just like some, you know, lofty place far away. It's actually a direction that you're going. And there will be other things along this journey. Maybe look towards like full moon, new moons in Libra. And there will be some eclipses, but not for a while coming up, like couple years. But they are, oh no, that's now. We've just finished the eclipses. Sorry, eclipses throw me back because they go in the other direction. So yeah, we've just had our eclipses. So look back to the eclipses that we've had to see how that's made who you are. I do feel as though this is all about you standing your ground and being like the King of Pentacles. Who you are now will lead to great success. And I think that some people may have a hard time accepting it or understanding it. But I think it's like owning your power, owning your energy here. So, okay, we'll talk again soon. Okay. Next sign. So the next sign is Virgo. Hey Virgo, let's take a look at this full moon for you. Sun, Moon, and Rising, Virgos. Okay, so Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. The full moon happened in your 8th house. So you went through some sort of change. With this combination in the 8th house, be very, very careful of bad energies pushing you over the edge, right? This could be in a natural cycle of change. Like a lot of clients come to me and they say, oh, you know, why am I getting all these narcissists in my life? Is there something in my chart? And what I actually believe is that narcissists look for strengths. They look for people. They look for, how do I say this? They look for qualities in people. And your strengths, such as kindness and being normal, like not being predatory, is one of the things they look for. So they exploit, they're like hackers. They're like personality hackers. And so they look for traits within people to exploit. So, but those traits in and of themselves are human. And so therefore there's nothing wrong with you. It's just learning how those traits are getting exploited by somebody who's acting inhuman or inhumane, right? So when we have this conjunction here, when you have transits in the 8th house, you're dealing with events that have to do with transformation and endings. And when I see a full moon here hitting your 8th house with Aries and Chiron, it looks to me like somebody who's looking for an exploit, and they have this natural ability to find something to take advantage of in people, right? That's what narcissists do. And sort of play with a natural transformation to enmesh their energy in it, right? So they're looking for an exploit. They're looking to take advantage. And so in a natural cycle of change and transformation, Virgo, be very wary of people, how do I say this, like a Judas energy even, somebody like cozying up to you and encouraging you to like make changes when it's not in your best interest to. People like when you're feeling vulnerable about a change, somebody coming up to you and like whispering in your ear, proverbially, like, oh, you know, it's good, let go, release, you know. There could be all sorts of different manipulative behaviors around you, Virgo, as you go through certain kinds of change. And you're vulnerable to destabilization if you don't keep firm. So just fight the urge of having that problematized. The nice side of all this is that story arc involving Jupiter and Mars is ongoing. It's just started with the square and trine or sextile, to Jupiter, and it will continue to March and May of next year. And essentially, I feel as though for some of you, your friends are changing. That's Mars in the 11th house. So certain friends are growing distant with, and while others you're becoming closer with. And then the sextile to Jupiter in your 10th house, there's something about your environment that's going to that's going to change for the better. And so again, that story arc of Chiron to Jupiter lasts from now until May 18th, 2025. So something's coming in for you in your outside world that's going to make the current changes something bigger is coming, something that's going to lift you up. So this full moon may have felt chaotic for some Virgos. It may have felt like, how do I say this? It feels as though somebody could come in and take advantage of a vulnerable situation, and you may have felt the other side of that. Hopefully you've protected yourself from it and don't start running to strangers for help, basically. And overall, whatever is happening now will find some kind of a resolution or outcome by early next year. And you don't have to wait till then. It's already working itself out in November and December. But you're going to see elements of this evolve and transform into May of 2025. Let's see your cards. We have the Hierophant, which is Taurus. That's where Uranus is at the top of your chart. Virgos are going to be experiencing a lot of change to what life is and like who they are. And so if you feel like things are not fitting right now, like you don't fit your current situations, I really feel like that's going to, what's going to be is going to be very different than the things you're dealing with now. And they're not going to be necessarily, the current issues are not going to be problems later. Okay, so we have the Hierophant, the Devil, which is Capricorn, which is Pluto. Okay. And then we have the Ace of Swords, some kind of message. Well, how do I say this? For some Virgos, there could be people who are, how do I say this? It just feels like people are trying to enmesh themselves in your natural behavior. So you're doing your thing and people are looking for something to exploit. And so you're dealing with a situation like that. Don't get paranoid, right? Like, don't feel like all of a sudden, like you have to watch your back. But be really careful with saying too much, sharing too much information at this time, letting in gossiping with people. Just be very careful with that energy. It feels as though there are people around that are, how do I say this, trying to take advantage and trying to in some way attach themselves and exploit your energy. So you're not doing anything weird. They're doing something weird. But you're going to find your way through that. Overall, I do think that you're reaching like a story arc of a bigger energy, Virgo. And so don't get wrapped up with the particulars of specific people and situations. Follow your path. I think it's already set in some way. And so there's like a bigger story arc that's at play. There's a bigger outcome. There's a bigger narrative for you. Okay, so there could be like in the interim small problems with people. Just don't get too caught up with the things they're saying and the things they're doing, because you have something bigger that's shaping for you. It's already started, okay? So next sign is Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's take a look at Sagittarius. Okay, so Sag, hey Sag, your full moon happened in the 5th house, and your full moon happened in the 5th house. You know what I'm getting from this right away? It seems as though it's kind of similar to Virgo's. In the 5th house, it's your joy and your passion. So let's say that you went and spent money on something and enjoyed yourself. It feels as though someone standing there who's like putting negative energy to that. So you have this someone who's taking your joy and trying to turn it around or make it sour. So you're not doing anything wrong by pursuing your joy, but there could be someone playing on your anxiety. So like you spent some money and someone around you is saying, well, like you need to save that money, or like you should. So somebody's projecting, or they're playing on your fears, or there's some kind of energy here that is disruptive to the joy that you're experiencing, or you took a day off and somebody's trying to shame you for that. I do think that overall, it's likely that it's happening because your relationship with that person is coming to an end. It may not be apparent right now, but I think you're growing apart. That's that Mars. I believe that if that's true, that story will end by March 26, 2025. So that's that story arc. Having said that, I do think that it's likely that you have a more suitable person coming in, or somebody who's around now, and somebody who is more in alignment with how you find joy, how you seek joy, and all of those things. Okay? So yes, the person giving you trouble is likely anyway on their way out, and they could be like at work or something, but it's a cool, like maybe you haven't figured it out consciously yet, but if you think about it, then it's likely you already know. And it's likely that they're being that way because they're experiencing, like, you know, when people feel rejection or something, they react in weird ways. So maybe this is what it's all about, that there's already tension about, like, and when people like grow apart, people internalize it as rejection. So some people react in like less than nice ways. So you have Capricorn. That's not Taurus. That is Capricorn. Devil. And then we have the Tower. Okay. I think that this person probably had their hooks into you in some way. When you have the Devil and the Tower, like there's the facade. When you're friends with someone and you like them, so you forgive a lot, but then when you look back on it, it's be like, that person wasn't actually really nice to me. And then you have the Hierophant. So you're going to learn a life lesson from this. It's definitely a replacement of something that wasn't serving you with Mars and the square from Mars to Chiron and the full moon. And then I love the Jupiter there for you in the 7th house. To me, that's signaling that like it's being replaced with a much better energy. This is also your awareness of learning, you know, and drawing awareness about the relationship that you have. But yeah, there's definitely restrictions. I don't know. I think of Sag as happy-go-lucky. And I think that kind of energy can like not notice a lot and you can find yourselves in awkward situations sometimes when someone around, like, you just overlook a lot of the details, and then you look back and you're like, oh, I've been really letting someone have like undue influence on me and it's not actually serving me well. So I think that there's that kind of situation. And most likely at this time, you haven't been having the best time. Most likely at this time, it has felt like, why does life suck so much right now? And I think that's a byproduct of being influenced by the wrong person or the wrong energy. So you're coming into like completion. Where's Uranus? Because Taurus, we have Uranus in Virgo, in Taurus, excuse me. Oh yeah, because Uranus is in your 6th house. This is big because when Uranus enters Gemini, it'll start entering Gemini next year, but really in 2026. I think that right now with Uranus in the 6th house, you do have a degree of people like frenemies wheeling and dealing around you, like not real friends, or maybe things happening behind the scenes that you're not necessarily, or surprise behaviors even that you are aware of. Like you will experience like shocking moments like, oh, really? Like, where did this come from? So when you're in a transitional period of kind of letting certain things go, and when Uranus goes into the 7th house, you will drastically change the types of people you value. So you're probably already learning the lessons of where you put your trust and all those things, and finding better places to put your trust into. Okay, so let's see the next cards, the next sign. So we have Aries next, Aries full moon. Let's see it. Aries sun, moon, and rising. Okay, so Aries, we have the 1st house Aries, full moon. Well, it feels like, so with that Chiron and Aries energy, it could very much be some like micromanaging, or somebody's really up your butt. Like everything you do, somebody's watching. Everything you do, somebody's trying to just like deal with it you feel cramped by your current circumstances with this full moon. And it could involve a certain degree of like ill behavior. One of the things that come to mind with this placement, and I'm not blaming any of you, this is maybe more directed at anybody who's dealing with an Aries type person, but just the thought, it just came to me because it's in your 1st house, okay, Discordia and Chiron. And so being permissive, how do I say, I'm going to tone it down, but being permissive of certain types of attitudes around you. So being okay with having a friend who is a certain type of way, like not nice, in effect negatively affects your life. And at certain point, that behavior that you turn away from and pretend not to notice, it comes back around and bites you in the ass. So the question is there someone around you? Are you letting in people that are below your quality? Like if you're not willing to be a certain way, are you allowing other people who are willing to be that way around you? And is that sinking the ship for you? Okay, so when we have this full moon, maybe you're having that awareness that like it's actually hurting me, which is the 1st house, to be in this situation. Maybe you've had a wake-up call, like something's happened and you're just like, you may feel uneasy, you may feel like it's dangerous, or you may feel as though you're playing with fire, something like scary like that. You will feel this nervousness, So are you letting something around you that's not true to you? And are you getting like a massive wake-up call that you need to get away from it? So I think that's what may be going on for Aries. I think that the square onto Mars, there could be conflict in your house. So home and family, and that will be a 3-part arc to March from here on in. But the supportive energy of Jupiter, look to your sisters, cousins, people your own age, your cohort. There are people who are inspiring you with different opportunities. So there are people who you know, if family is the tension and Mars is suggesting that it's your family or home, there will be people who are on your level, meaning age or who you consider to be your contemporaries, right? That are going to provide you with solutions to this energy. My story at the beginning of the, like my experience, that story may be very significant for you in that because you may be feeling like you're enmeshed in some kind of culture or society that's really not in alignment with who you want to be. And maybe you're recognizing in your own behavior patterns that are not actually yours. So, there could be like a challenge. So in other words, something could have happened where you felt completely uneasy with it, Aries, and you're just like, nothing, it almost feels like a close call. And how do I say this? You're like, oh, I don't want to be that way. I don't want to be that way. I don't want this to be my issue, right? And you're just like, I'm grossed out by this, having feelings like that and nervousness. Like it's almost like being friends with like someone who's kind of like breaking the law and then being like, oh crap, I can get in trouble, or I don't like this type of behavior. And you suddenly feeling the urgency to want that to change. So something about your environment is making you nervous. We have the King of Pentacles, King of Swords, sorry. You have very good influence from Libra here in the Sun, okay? There's blockages about something that you are working your way around, okay? And there's an inspiration of someone around you who's giving you, you may have lost the respect of someone, which is the Eight of Cups. That's Saturn and Pisces in the 12th house, and you're feeling that. You may have not lost it, but there could be so let's say that someone around you you feel like there's emotional distance, and suddenly your attention is to Chiron, right, in your first house. And you may not lose this relationship, but there's this awareness. And it's not like you're trying to change for someone else. It's that you're changing for you, and it's becoming very apparent to you that all the good things you lose by accepting that, whatever it is, okay? So there could be like the energy of the 7th house for you is very good here. This is like a good influence of someone you're close with. Even if they take a step back, the influence is good because it's challenging you to rise to the next level, okay? And then you have Justice, which is Libra, 7th house. Look to that person that's really special to you. I don't feel like it's the end of your relationship, but I think that it's motivating you. People around you are motivating you for good. It's something to do with family that's a tension. So your family's bringing tension into the situation, while people of your own age or cohort are bringing positivity in, which is Jupiter and this 7th house. So they're bringing in good, whereas family is tense, bringing in the stress. So you're reacting to stress while your friends or people around you who are about your own age, and that close relationship, could be a partner, could be a close friend, is positively peer influence, right? Is influencing you to do good, and you're emotionally aligned with it. So it's not that they're forcing you. It makes sense. You're like, okay, I want to go down this path. Okay? So good luck, Aries. So next sign is Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's take a look at Cancer's message for the full moon. Okay, Cancer. So your full moon is happening in the 10th house of career. Some of you Cancers have experienced a terrible moment in your workplace. This could be a moment where I think one of the major themes for Cancer right now is kind of positioning yourself in your workplace, not being taken seriously, and trying to create a situation in which you're taken seriously. Okay? So there could be a situation that you were dreading happening around you. It may have been temporary and it feels like a near miss, like it almost happened, but it didn't happen, Cancer. And so it's putting pressure on you to interact in your workplace a certain way. It's pushing you to make decisions that you've been holding off on because you just don't want to. It's saying basically, if you keep ignoring this, you're going to keep getting walked all over, and now you have to do something about it. There is this involves people that you're not aware of working in your favor. This, like a boss, knows exactly what's happening, or coworkers who are secretly saying, like, that's not cool that they're treating Cancer this way. So if you feel alone and isolated at work and something has happened that's been like stressful, undermining your autonomy and your strength, there's other people who see it happening. You're not alone. And that's going to play itself out until May of next year. So be cautious, be patient. Sorry. So yeah, there's a workplace situation that made you totally feel uncomfortable in some way. It's likely, like with Aries and Chiron, it's likely like through the bad behavior of other people. And it's putting a pressure on you to react. And I'm guessing that you've probably been holding back on saying or doing something. But there is help on the way, okay? Let's see your cards. So we see the Four of Wands. It's nice. You've been undermined by like a malicious energy. You know when we're afraid of something? Oh, I have a story. Holy crap. This is exactly the energy. Last night I wake up in the middle of the night. I had a cup of coffee and I couldn't sleep. Not the full moon. It was completely caffeine. I'm like, okay, I'll get up for a minute. And I look and there's the biggest spider imaginable. And it's like middle of the night, 2 a.m. And I like grab the vacuum, vacuum it up, put it away, But it was like I was sleeping with the enemy. The thing that I'm afraid of happened. I like got up, I looked, and it was like there on the floor. I'm like, how many of these suckers is there? It was in the room with me. So scary. So it's like the thing that I was afraid of, the spider, was in the room with me. And it was okay. I got through it. But yeah, so something uncomfortable that you didn't want to happen has happened. And it happened to do with work or to do with other people. Four of Wands. And then we have the Lovers. This is looking good. I do think that your partner, if you have a partner, is on your side, and people that you have loving relationships with are very supportive. This feels also like Jupiter right here in Gemini in your 12th house. So you have allies, Cancer. And even if an unfortunate situation had happened, they're going to say something or something's going to be said. So maybe like waiting with Mars and holding back on reacting is a good thing, because there's going to be fallout from this on behalf of you by someone else. Okay? So yeah, your reputation is going to be saved, or like your, not just reputation, your dignity. I feel like I think like the 10th house has a lot to do with dignity. So like somebody's undermined your dignity, something like that. Okay, so next sign is Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Hey, Libra, let's take a look at your chart. Libra. Okay. So Libra, you had your full moon in the, so this could be like a betrayal of a partner by a partner, or seeing something about a partner that was like really rancid, something that like you necessarily didn't want to see, proving your suspicions right. This could be a partner or like a boss or a best friend. And there could be just a situation that someone who you're really close with, there was like, they behaved a certain way, they said something that was shocking. I do think that there's kind of like a lot of thinking about how that, like, we are who our friends are in a way. So there's like a feeling of, how is this influencing who I am? And am I being held back by this? A lot of Libras are drawing away from close relationships now because you're looking towards the future. As Jupiter enters Cancer next year, you can feel it organically. You're going to feel the desire to push towards new heights. And so you're looking in your environment, and maybe you're seeing certain people not acting, and maybe even like in your family, there were people who acted a certain way that made certain behaviors normalize certain behaviors. And you're probably looking at all this and thinking if it's actually helping you, or if you have something else. There is there are people around you, or you're in school or something like this, bringing you information that's going to be very helpful, inspirational. I think you're breaking your environment right now, Libra. I think you're not in a bad way. I just think that you've recognized your environment to be subpar or suboptimal to what you need it to be. And I think you're looking at your relationships and kind of breaking apart from them. Let's take a look at your cards, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So we have the Emperor. So whatever you decide right now is going to lead you to like great. Some of you, this is your husband or like your actual partner. There could be like taking a look that maybe they're a creep, or maybe like, I don't know. I have Ten of Swords. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but you might be having a real sobering time with someone you're close with. Okay, like they just may not be as nice as you gave them credit all this time. And then we have the Four of Wands. But maybe you're going to find like a more suitable partner, or maybe you're finding like an overcoming of issues. Or maybe you understand, I'm going to challenge you because of this. And I don't mean, this isn't a personal attack, but maybe you have reacted to something and you have drawn a separation between you and someone who you really like, the Ten of Swords. And maybe this is a wake-up call to your own behavior towards someone that you care a lot about. So I'm not calling your sign bad or that you did something bad, but like maybe there is this awareness that I wasn't too kind, I didn't listen. Because we have the Emperor with the Ten of Swords, and then there's the Four of Wands. It almost feels as though there's a possibility of like rekindling a relationship, or realizing like finding the closeness in a situation that was sparse. But Jupiter's in Gemini, and the Ten of Swords is Sun in Gemini. And so Jupiter in Gemini, you learn something that gives you great strength and empowers you to challenge the situation. Also, for some of you, separation with a partner leads you to great joy. Honestly, some of you are not bothered. Some of you are not for some of you, this is a good thing and you feel fulfilled by this. Okay. So I'm going to just, my blinds are closed and I don't want the last four readings to be really dark. So I'm going to turn off the mic, but I'm here and I'm live, and I'm going to open up the blinds, and this will give us a lot of light to finish up the reading. Okay. Hello, I'm back. Let me just fix the video because I made it so much. Okay, so next sign. See, we have lots of light. I have a white blind, so it should be letting in some light, but when it's cloudy, it just kind of loses. Aquarius is next. When it's cloudy, the light loses energy. Okay, so Aquarius is next. Let's take a look at how the full moon will affect you. So for Aquarius, the full moon happened right on your IC. This is in your 3rd house. If you have problems with siblings or cousins, if somebody's being really harsh or hard to deal with, that issue may have arisen. And so there might have been a fight or a conflict with someone that you would deem like your cousin, sibling, something on your level. There could be another issue involving issues to do with like things close to home. So let's say like a plumber came over and did garbage job and you were like, hey, wait a minute. There could have been like conflict around the house or in your neighborhood. Maybe your neighbor trimmed their tree and all the tree stuff fell into your yard and they didn't clean it up. So there's some kind of tension that may have arose. I think that it probably points to a larger pattern that's around you, a larger pattern of conflict or not ill will, but there's something off in your environment that's not serving you. And so whatever conflict has arisen is coming up because of that bigger tension. That bigger tension is going to get resolved over Christmas when Mars is retrograde. So just be patient, and by March you will have an answer. So if in your neighborhood there's tension, or if in your building there's tension, or if you know something's going on that's kind of out of your control but you see it happening, that is going to work itself out through Mars retrograde. So look to at the beginning of the video, I gave you guys 3 dates for Chiron square Mars. Look to those dates. The other energy is that there's likely someone who is very sincere towards you. For some of you, this will be romantic. And this person is helping you, as if only emotionally, really helping you along to deal with an issue. It feels as though something is chaotic near you and around you. Like a person's chaotic, they're kind of unhinged and they're messy. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm really worried about the effect on me. And I think it's happening because there's a larger systematic issue or system issue at play, which is that Mars square. There's something about your environment that's off. And so that's going to change. But in the meantime, you get support from someone. Maybe it's like a love interest. Maybe it's like your kids. For some, like somebody's bringing you great support through this time and through this experience. Yeah, there's how do I say this? There's something about your environment that is obscured right now. Something like, how do I say this? There's politics, there's hidden truths. Aquarius, there's someone's not saying something. How do I say this? Something's reached an end and it's not like being dealt with well. Something about the environment's dysfunctional and it needs to be corrected, right? And your cards for this are the Page of Swords. You're going to find out maybe something's changed for someone else and you're going to find out what it is later. Then we have the 10 of Cups. Yeah, I get a lot of like support in your 5th house. You have like some really nice people bringing positivity for you. And ultimately we have this Knight of Wands. I think that you need to get away from someone or something. Bottom line. I think that a situation might be like, it just feels like it's not helpful or it's not nice, but there are nice people around you. This is like, how do I say this? Somewhere where you're exposed to people, where you're interacting with people, those people are not bringing to you positive vibes, and it's bringing conflict into your life and tension. And there's people that are supporting you, and it's about you sort of leaving that dynamic behind. And so that whole story arc from now until I think March is likely you leaving and some of you, this is going to be leaving a romantic situation and being like, my partner is like a downer. My partner is bringing me down. They're negative or critical, and you've been putting up with it. And then your friends remind you like you don't need to be around that. So you're working through like releasing something that's negative or disruptive or somehow sour for you, and you need to step away from that energy. Okay, so that's Aquarius. I'm sorry, this is the truth, but I think it's good, and you definitely have people who bring you joy and happiness and support. Okay, hold on one sec. We have 3 more cards. Oh, we only have 3 signs. Okay, not that I'm rushing, it's just it's sunset, so I want to make sure that all of you guys see your cards. Okay, so we have Pisces next. Okay, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. Let's take a look at your energy. So Pisces, so the full moon for you happened in your 2nd house. Some of you may have experienced some kind of grift, some kind of financial grift, or otherwise tension with money. So you may be feeling sensitive about financial matters. For some of you, this is a tension with regard to someone that you're romantically connected with, or someone that you're connected with on an emotional level. For some of you, this means that somebody acted erratically or pulled you into a financial situation that you're now paying for. You will find a workaround around this. I do feel like somebody pulled you into something financial that wasn't necessarily good for you. And I do sense that there's a certain degree of stress of having your interests compromised by this person's behavior. I do think family is going to help you a lot. And I do think that they're going to bring something new into your life. So, for example, this could be something like moving in with a roommate, and that roommate being really disastrous and you having to move out, and with that losing a damage deposit and other things, right? And so that causing you financial consequences. Someone in your family is going to step in. Someone in your family is going to help out, and they're going to bring to you some positive energy to help you get out of that circumstance that you find yourself in. That was just an example of what this energy may be all about, but it has to do with like financial stress in some way. And again, the theme comes up that many people were stuck in circumstances that were harmful to them. Many people were stuck in circumstances that were beyond their control. And this full moon connected to Jupiter and Mars has to do with like finding a way around, finding another solution. The way that you see the situation is going to change. When you see the change in the situation, there's like a different way of thinking at the problem. Okay. So that's kind of your call to action. But I do think some Pisces are experiencing stress. And I do think that, I'm sorry if something financial happened that way, but now keep looking forward and find another way. There is another way around to the issue that you're dealing with. Okay, so let's see. Look how dark it got so fast. We have 2 more to go. Okay, so we have the Knight of Swords, Gemini, Aquarius. If you were in a situation with someone who is playing games, financial games or something like that, I'm going to make this brighter. If someone was playing financial games, if you were put into a compromised situation with someone playing financial games or something like that, they knew what they were doing. It was intentional, right? This was with Aries, we're looking at intentional behaviors. That hopefully is an answer for someone. We have this Ace of Swords. This is someone who was looking at documents. They were looking at specific information. They were like hacking a system. They knew exactly, like beyond just knowing, they had they looked at the rules in order to work around them. The next message is Capricorn, which is the devil. This came up a lot today. It's through your circle of friends. There's another lesson, Pisces, that has come up for you. And through your circle of friends, this is something I've never picked up on for you before, so this is interesting. Through your circle of friends, this is Pluto and Capricorn, certain people had come in, made their way into your life. So through trusted friends or people who you believed in, there were people who made their way in who were at a disadvantage to you, okay? And so there's this feeling of like, who do you trust and which way to go? Because through people you trusted, you met someone untrustworthy before. And so that's the devil energy. It's like, I think you're dealing with trust and other people and really figuring out where your trust can be put and coming to terms with the fact that untrustworthy people can be everywhere, right? And it's kind of a logical fallacy to create assumptions about where you can be betrayed, because betrayal can come from any place. And when you come to terms with the fact that betrayal can come from any place, that can give you great peace, because you need to put trust in yourself as opposed to an external event or person that can always let you down. Does that make sense? So I think that you're being maybe, how do I say this? I think that there's like a fear or worry about the potential of things happening, but when you work through the energy of that on the other side, it'll be a great faith in yourself that whatever comes up, you will be okay with dealing with it. So it's like, it doesn't matter where it comes from. I trust myself to respond accordingly. So it makes you more empowered in the face of things and more ready to trust other people. So, okay. That was weird. Just okay. Taurus is next. Sun, moon, and rising. Let's take a look at your message, Taurus. Let's see. I hope you enjoyed this, and I do hope you watched the beginning of the astrology part that I filmed by myself. That's okay. Okay, so so we have a full moon that's happened in your 12th house, Taurus, and we have transit. Well, I do think that something in your neighborhood is bringing great tension. So someone close to you is bringing tension or conflict into your life. And I think that there are dynamics that are close to you that are uncomfortable. However, I think that there's a financial buildup of something really good coming through that will take you out of your current environment. I think what this is suggesting is like who you're around, the people you're around are not really good. And I think that there's a feeling of dis-ease around them. And if an event came up for you out of the blue in the 12th house now where you felt like what just happened, it's likely signaling to you that you've outgrown a place or you've outgrown a group of friends or you've outgrown a dynamic. And that dynamic is bringing negativity in for you. Negativity you don't necessarily want. And so ultimately, I think that for you, a financial windfall, there's some kind of financial growth that takes you out of the way of what's straight ahead. Okay. Now, it doesn't have to be friends. It could be like a work environment or something around you. But when people, it brings me to the idea that like when people don't want to understand you, they will not listen to you. Right? So no matter how much you explain something to people, they will choose not to understand. It feels like that kind of situation where you're in a situation where you're not being heard, not because you're not being clear, but because there is a choice to not hear you. And you're in a conflict with cowards who are not willing to acknowledge that there's a conflict. There's an outside situation involving money that's going to take you out of the way of this. And I think as the sun moves into Scorpio, it's going to be really nice for you in the next couple days. It's going to be very nice for you for feeling closeness with someone. Someone's rising to the challenge. Someone's coming up to show you support. Already it may be happening because Mercury is already there. Venus was there. But when the sun comes in, you will feel more supported. So the situation in front of you, if it's feeling toxic, it probably is. In the 12th house, not everything may be right in front of you about it. Some of it may be hidden. And you may be, and there's a financial workaround. There's a financial change in your favor that is going to shift you out of being trapped in it in some way. Okay? Pretty cool. I think you should, in other words, hold on to the situation as it is and be patient for Jupiter to kind of work its way through your second house. Yeah. There's something that supersedes around it. There's like another way around it. And in the meantime, when people reach out to you in good faith with good energy, embrace them and have positive relationships with them and all that. Like accept their kindness. So we have the Knight of Swords, Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. And then we have the Knight of Cups. There's definitely like people who, conflict of interest between people who are trying to achieve different things. And then we have the King of Wands, Sag, Leo, or Aries. Taurus, this really feels as though you should avoid a situation a situation's not moving the way it should, okay? And there's a way for you to get around it. There's someone that's coming up, which is the fire sign, Sag, Leo, or Aries. It doesn't have to be a fire sign, but there's something that is in your favor. You're currently in this knight versus knight situation where there's conflict of, you want something, somebody on your level wants something else. And whether it's said, and it's most likely hidden, there's a push-pull between your energy. But on the other side, there is something that's more in your favor. How do I say this? There's something else that's happening that's in your favor that takes you out of the way of this butting heads energy where you're confronting somebody else. You're in a power struggle with one other person, but your ultimate outcome is the King of Wands, which is a much better energy. This person is waiting for you. It's not necessarily romantic. There's a person there with whom whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and some of it can have to do with money, there's a better alignment. So it almost feels as though the thing you're trying to do is not working out because it's with the wrong people. And covertly, those people have hidden intentions, not necessarily in bad faith, but they have hidden intentions that work against your best interest. So you're in a natural power struggle with someone. And there's someone else who is like a benefic, good energy. That's Jupiter in your second house. And you're pushing against an energy that's not willing to give. And there's another energy, another person with whom your energy will align. You will be on the same path and working to everybody's benefit. It's going to be much smoother. So allow that. Look to the beginning of the video where I mentioned the Chiron Jupiter aspect. Pay attention to the 3 dates I gave. That's when this whole second situation is going to arise. Okay. Let's see the next energy. Last but not least is Leo. And see, it's gotten brighter now. Light is so fickle. Okay. So Leo, hello, sun, moon, and rising. Let's take a look at the last reading for today. And that is the full moon at the top of your chart in the 10th house. So something shocking may have happened. Something shocking that you feel out of control about. There could be people that had things to do behind the scenes to do with it. So there could have been some kind of there could have been something that's infuriating you that happened. And it could be something that worked against you and it wasn't fair. Because we have the Chiron and Aries up here. So there could be, Leo, if something happened right now, I'm really sorry that it happened. And it's unfortunate. It will too have its own resolution in some way. That's not what this is really talking about. What this is actually pointing to is that there is alignment with new groups of people that is bringing you benefit. That's the ultimate outcome. And I feel like, I don't think it's your betrayal of friends. I think that there is, you're there in the world, right? This is you, happy Leo, up here in the MC. And it's, you're not a sitting duck, but where you are, you're in a position where other people see you or where other people perceive you. It's about them, not about you. Does that make sense? And so you're being spectated, you're being observed, and you're being watched. And I don't mean that in like a paranoid sense, but the situation or the circumstance you're in is not giving to you. You're, how do I say this? You're around the wrong people. You're around, it's just how it works. They're not your friends. This isn't anything to do with friends or anything like that. This has to do with the place you're in is not the place for you. The dynamic you're in is not your space. And so I do feel as though the circumstance that you've experienced is a consequence of being near that kind of energy. So it's their energy. It's, how do I say this? It's going to a certain country, any country, and they have a holiday, and it's not your holiday, right? But they're having their holiday, so you're participating with them. That would be a positive example of this. This is more of like something happened that it's their holiday, it's their thing that's happened, and you just got caught up in their life. That's what it looks like. But I think that in your favor, friends are coming. And I think that it's almost like you were caught up in a situation that wasn't yours, right? And now positive friends are already showing up in your life, Leo. There's already positive changes of event. I think that maybe certain changes haven't happened as fast as they should, and that's why you got caught up in something. So if something happened, it's a one-off situation. It only happened one time. It's a one-off situation. You have to let it be. Protect yourself however you need to, if you need to protect yourself. But it's them, not you. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's not your holiday that happened. It's not your bad holiday, right? It's like it's theirs. And so in the 11th house, the plus side is that you're getting a lot of new people in that are a great benefit to your life. And so turn yourself towards that to bring your attention to the positive people around you. Here are your cards. So we have the moon, which is the full moon. It does look like an event that happened in your life that was, how do I say this? It inconvenienced you. It was uncomfortable. And it was kind of shocking that you had to deal with something on that level. Then you have the 8 of Swords. Okay, so one of the main messages that I got about this is you may feel greatly influenced by what happened, but the reason I'm stressing it's not your holiday, it's not yours. So if you feel the need to have to reconcile it in some way, it's not yours. If you're trying to understand why it happened, it's not yours. So just leave it at bay, let it be, and walk away. Let's see the next message. We have the 4 of Cups next. So there are people coming in good faith into your life. This is separate from, it really feels like an event. A one-off event happened that was a negative experience, and now good things are going to come in. Good friends, positive disposition, positive feelings towards you. So don't allow that one singular event to rock your world and to hold you back from moving free forward and not interacting with people. It really feels like it's a bad holiday for somebody else. And with Saturn in the 8th house, I really feel as though if you were in a space where this happened, you should walk away from the whole space, like the whole environment. That's why it happened. And I think that, yeah, it's just, trying to figure out why bad people do bad things sometimes is like a waste of time. Go live your life. It's sad that they're choosing to do that. It's sad that that's their life. But you can't, you're wasting your time if you're trying to figure it out. Okay? So that's all I have for you guys today for the full moon. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, sorry about the beginning. Watch the beginning part. And I'll catch you guys next time. This will be public for everyone. And so happy full moon, everybody. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.